I think the half-yearly result, 25 million.
Madam Chair, speak. I think I've.
Councillor.
Yeah, and that their annual report is on their website. So I just wanted to ask, so we talk about delays in projects and it looks like savings, but those projects will be carried forward, no doubt, won't they? So it'd be easy to see it as savings, but it's not, it's really around not expended yet. Is that correct?
Yeah. Correct. So we're not saying those are savings. All they are, that's timing differences. So they've been delayed. Some will be caught up a bit by the year end,
Yeah.
but others will be
Carried forward.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Well, yeah, thank you. Just in relation to this capital expenditure, especially in relation to transport, water care, so are they expecting to deliver those projects that's they're obviously projects that are in the long-term plan or the annual plan to be done in this year?
As I said, they will be delivering some of those. Some of it will be delayed until the next year, but they are still delivering. It's just really when you set a plan, it's your best estimate at the time.
Yeah.
When you actually try and implement it, you find that some things take longer. And in water cases, water care's situation, they've specifically looked at one or two projects. They've gone back and made sure that what they're proposing to spend is the right expenditure in terms of the asset management plan. So they've made some tweaks to the timing of when they're going to incur some expenditure, which is having some effect on when some of that expenditure is happening. But that's happened after the budgets were set. But to me, that would be an appropriate response from good governance and management oversight. So it does. It would not continue.
Are we taking any corrective action to try and ensure that they do keep up to what they've put into their plan, or what's in the plan, I should say?
What we are making sure of is ensuring that the expenditure is happening when it's needed, and so that's what the board of, for example, water care are tasked to do. So they are looking at it and making sure that they are delivering what they need at the appropriate time. So it's about the timing at which some CapEx happens, but it's not that it's not going to happen, it's just that they're wanting to make sure that, for example, in water care's case, that when they spend it, it's spent appropriately and at the right time, rather than putting in infrastructure ahead of when it's needed.
Okay. Councillor Lee.
What are current assets?
Current assets are cash and bank,
Okay.
debtors, that sort of thing, prepayments. It's your liquid assets, more liquid assets, as opposed to fixed assets, which are your plant and property and things like that.
What are non-current liabilities?
Okay, so you have borrowings and creditors and accruals. Now your creditors and your accruals generally are short term. Your borrowings tend to be some long term and some short term. So that's the current assets and the long term assets, long term liabilities.
When people talk about the council debt and the debt ratios and all that stuff, I've always heard the figure of 7 point something billion, but these are different figures. Could you explain? Is that wrong to say the debt is 7 billion and the assets are 42 billion or 41 billion?
Sorry, through you, Chair. If you look at the current liabilities, there's borrowings, I think about 800 million, and they're due within the next 12 months. If you add to that the non-current liabilities, the borrowings in there, you'll get to the 7.3 billion.
Okay, thank you.
You, Councillor Brewer.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Just on these credit rating ratios and your comment that we had very little headroom to deviate from the CapEx program that we've just signed off on the LTP. I appreciate that if we were overrunning on some of the CapEx spend, we would be pulling it in other areas, but hypothetically, you know, are you able to give us a kind of a monetary amount or a percentage amount of an overrun that which would breach our in total spend of capex, which would put us in a position of breaching our ratio ceilings? Is it like a 10% capex overrun, a 20%?
Through you, Chair, I mean, if you look at the long-term plan, if we take that cap as a 270% as a solid number, I mean, year on year it does differ. I mean, ballpark, we've probably got about 500 million of headroom before in some years we start to come up against that 270%.
Yeah, so what is that as far as a percentage of the total capex?
I mean, capex roughly, I think, per year is about 1.8 billion. So, what's that, 500 million over that's about 30%
Yeah, so,
in any 1 year.
yeah, okay, so the headroom's reasonable.
Right, thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. That brings us very nicely to lunch, councillors. Lunch is downstairs.
We do the
and,
treasury management policy, that's an easy.
I'd rather do the others together.
Thank you very much, Chris.
We will, can we be back here by 1 o'clock, councillors?